Welcome to part 7 of the Getting Unstuck workshop. This is the final section, so today we'll be focused on a summary and the action plan. So obviously, since this section is a summary, it'd be most helpful to go back and review parts 1 through 6 before coming to this final section. First, just to summarize what's been covered in the first 6 videos, we talked a lot about depression and defining depression, and learned that it can manifest in a variety of different ways with a whole host of different symptoms that can look very different from one person to the next. That symptoms can be broken down into thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and behaviors, and that by viewing symptoms in these different categories, that can help us to gain a better understanding of what depression specifically looks like for me, and that can also help to recognize where we might want to make changes. So we first begin to make improvements by attending to what's happening in our lives. So the symptoms, and specifically we've focused a lot on the behavior changes that tend to occur in depression, which, if you'll remember, those typical behavior changes is first just a general lack of activity, second isolation, so fewer social contacts, and third, a lack of trying things that would typically give us a feeling of accomplishment. Then our coping starts with identifying behaviors that are consistent with our values and then implementing those into daily life. And specifically within behaviors consistent with our values, we want to try to balance our days with pleasant activities, mastery activities, and social activities. Again, pleasant activities are ones we enjoy. Mastery activities are things that are important to us that give us a sense of accomplishment after having tried them, and social activities, some form of contact with other people. And lastly, we talked about the importance of noticing the good things that exist in your life, as depression often clouds one's ability to recognize the positives. So, as we talk about an action plan, what does that mean? There have been different recommendations throughout the previous videos of different things you can try. Action plan is kind of about putting it all together and recognizing the specific changes you want to make, and then having a plan of how you're going to put that into action. So what the specific changes you might want to make, that would include the value consistent behaviors you would try, making sure to include time in your day to journal about things you're grateful for and other positive events that are going on in your life. Can be breaking down your experiences into that CBT cross-sectional model to gain a better understanding of what are my reactions to different situations in my life, any patterns that I see. And then also scheduling out your days in advance with that balance of pleasant, mastery, and social activities can all be a huge part of the action plan. So when creating an action plan, it's important to be specific, to name what is the activity, when will I do it, so a specific day, specific time, for how long will I do it, things like that, and trying to break those ideas down into the smallest possible components. So instead of putting something like have fun, again, recognizing a specific pleasant activity you might want to do. So maybe you would have fun by playing video games, and you could specify a specific video game and say, I'm going to play this video game for this 1 hour period from, say, 6 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Or maybe that's a daily activity. The frequency and things like that are up to you, but the idea here, be specific about what the activity is, when you're going to do it, and for how long. Helps to create more likelihood that you'll be able to follow through and be successful with your action plan. The final component to the action plan is to create a daily schedule for yourself with some kind of mix of pleasant activities, mastery activities, and social activities. So the example that we have on this slide goes through maybe a weekend day. If you'll notice, there aren't any activities that are already scheduled for us on this example, meaning things like class or work, anything like that. So we don't have those on this list. What we have are more ideas of pleasant activities, mastery activities that you could schedule out for yourself. So in this example, we have waking up at 8 a.m. and brushing your teeth, which would be a mastery activity, then preparing and eating breakfast, another mastery activity, and starting the day with homework for one specific class, another mastery activity. Then starting at 10 a.m., first pleasant activity of watching one episode of a TV show. Then at 11 a.m., studying for another class or another mastery activity, Preparing and eating lunch at noon would be yet another example of a mastery activity. Then coming back to a pleasant activity, draw or listen to music, maybe do both of those at once, and that's from 1 to 2. Then at 2, coming back to mastery with studying for a different class. At 4, reading for fun. So you'll notice there from 2 to 4, so we have study for class 2 can be for 2 hours. We just kind of, this example, we've mixed things up a little bit in terms of 1 hour schedules. You can be as detailed or as lax to a certain degree as you would like. This can be individualized for yourself. So here we have mostly activities that will go on for about an hour. However, some of that might last a bit longer than that. If you find that it's hard for you to stay on one task for an hour, you're also welcome to break it down a bit more. This is just one example, along with some ideas. So anyway, so 2 o'clock, study for class number 3 for 2 hours. Then at 4, reading for fun, be a pleasant activity. Then at 5, texting and calling friends, which would be a social activity, our first social activity, as well as going to dinner with a friend, another social activity at 6. Then when you come back from dinner, exercising is a mastery activity. Then showering and cleaning up your room at 9, before then sort of ending your day with a period of being able to watch TV and then gratitude journaling. The gratitude journaling would basically be going through and seeing which of these activities that you would schedule for yourself were you able to stick to. Maybe you are grateful for your ability to study and complete homework assignments. You might be grateful for the friends you spent some time with. You might also be grateful for the book that you're reading or the exercise that you did, anything like that. That can be a great way of really combining all of these different methods, is adding in the activities you want to add in that are pleasant, that give you a sense of accomplishment, that allow you to socialize a bit more, and then specifically attending to those in the form of writing them down at the end of the day. What did I do today for which I am grateful? That concludes the Getting Unstuck workshop. I encourage you to utilize each of the worksheets that have been provided, as well as to go back and rewatch any of the earlier videos if you find yourself getting stuck or confused about any of the recommendations that have been covered in this workshop. You can also use the action plan multiple times, specifically the pieces about new activities you will try in the next week. So you can revisit your action plan and see what's worked for you, what hasn't worked, then brainstorm some new ideas and give those a try. It's also important to recognize that this workshop is not necessarily a substitute for therapy. You may find many of the tips and ideas from this workshop to be helpful, and you may also benefit from individual therapy in which you can take these ideas and get some help tailoring them more to your specific circumstances. Individual therapy can also be helpful if you find yourself struggling to follow the recommendations covered in the workshop, or really any other challenges you meet along the way. Regardless of reason, you're welcome to contact the Counseling Center to schedule a first appointment if you're interested in doing so. Thank you for watching, and best of luck with your action plan in the days ahead.